We are here for one very simple reason. This region is at the epicenter of a global crisis. Nearly 60 million people are displaced from their homes. That is 1 in every 122 people on our planet. Our world has never been richer or healthier or more advanced, yet never before have so many people been dispossessed and stripped of their basic human rights. We should call this what it is. This is not just a refugee crisis, but a crisis of global security and governance that is manifesting itself in a world refugee crisis that is the worst ever recorded. This is a time, we are living at a time of mass displacement. In the space of 4 years, Turkey has become a country with the largest number of refugees in the world, with 1.8 million displaced Syrian and Iraqi. Lebanon, where I was yesterday, is hosting an even greater density of displaced people. Every fourth person in Lebanon is now a refugee. People are running out of places to run to. If you are Iraqi or Syrian fleeing violence, where do you go? Every border country is being pushed to its limits. That is why we see so many people dying at sea. It is not a new trend. It is a result of those fleeing country after country and finding no safe place. These are not economic migrants looking for a better life. These are desperate refugees fleeing war and persecution. The average stay for a refugee in a protracted refugee situation is 25 years. So think of your own life. Think of what that would mean. For many, that is your entire childhood and beyond. During displacement, you might be able to get an education or continue your education, but very likely you will not. As a refugee, you cannot legally work in your host country, so your skills and your education will be dulled over those long years, and your much-needed contribution will be lost. As a refugee, you will learn how the world feels about you. You will know if your suffering causes outrage and compassion, or if it is mostly ignored. Families like the 6 young people I met yesterday living in Lebanon, without parents, on half food rations, paying $100 a month to live in a tent because UNHCR does not have the funds or capacity to fully take care of everyone. They know what it feels like. We should see this time in displacement as a time where we should give the most care and give the most support. Not because they are vulnerable, but because, in fact, they are the future stability for the countries that we say we care so much about. So my first message is that it is due time for people to respect the plight of refugees and to see their value. We must protect them and invest in them. They are not a problem, they are a part of the solution to this global crisis. They are the potential for the rebuilding and restabilization of countries. And second, even more than this, I plead to the international community and leaders of the world to recognize what this moment in mass displacement means. This is not just another day. This World Refugee Day marks some frightening truths about our inability to manage international crises, about our inability to broker peace and find lasting solutions. Today, as the High Commissioner said, and as it happens every day, on average, last year, over 40,000 people will be forced to flee their homes. This will be the same tomorrow, and the next day, and every day after that, if this political inertia continues. It is hard, in fact, to point to a single instance where, as an international community, we are decisively addressing the root causes of refugee flows. Displacement is multiplying because wars don't end, and countries emerging from conflict don't get the support they need to recover and stabilize. We handle crises by discussing either boots on the ground or aid relief. The global crisis is showing us that this narrow view of dealing with conflict is wrong and it is ineffective. UNHCR, along with other UN and NGO agencies, cannot be expected to manage the chaos of a displaced population the size of France. I've spent the last 14 years among refugee staff. I know their dedication, even their love for refugees. I have also seen them overwhelmed and emotional over the last few years. They and other UN agencies and NGOs are filling a gap left by the international community. We are past a breaking point. The answer to a world crisis is not how many financial appeals can be met, or in truth, by what percentage they can be met. And I'm, of course, very, very grateful to the funds that countries have contributed, even if they are not enough to meet all the needs. But I say to those countries, it is not your job to fund displacement, but to prevent it, to end it. Displacement at 60 million is a sign of our inability to work together as a community, to apply laws and use our collective institutions effectively, to live by our standards and to keep our word. There is an explosion of human suffering and displacement on a level that has never been seen before. It cannot be managed by aid relief. It must be managed by diplomacy and law. This is a central problem. We cannot pick and choose which human rights violations we will and will not tolerate. We have the tools we need, the resolutions, the doctrines, the conventions, the courts. But if these tools are misused, inconsistently applied, or applied in a self-serving way, we will continue on this trend of displacement, and it will grow and grow. It is inhumane to expect these families to tolerate this kind of life. We all know what needs to be done, and we must do better. And it is self-evident that we have to start with Syria. So I call again on the United Nations Security Council. Send your ministers and ambassadors here. Witness this crisis yourself. See that it can simply not go on, and that it is past time for a credible plan to reach a political solution and end this conflict. I thank the people of Turkey, of Iraq, of Jordan for their generosity. I thank all of the host countries in the world. And to all the families here and around the world marking this holy month, I say Ramadan Kareem, and I pay tribute to the refugees themselves, the people who we rightly celebrate today, not only here, but in Turkey and around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you.